Welcome back, boys. If we sound a little down this week, it's because it's the first time in the season that both your hosts took the L on the week. Also, just had a pretty low-scoring week in general. Just a bad weekend of college football, if you ask me. Spartans did win, though. That was nice. But let's get into the fantasy action. First game we got up, Pams getting their fourth Kiffin Award of the season, letting everyone know they're serious as we head into the playoffs. The score of 131 to 114 over Cleveland Steamers. They have now theoretically clinched their first playoff berth of their franchise history with this win. They could get caught by Noah, but they're up by about 220 points, so that's really probably not going to happen. I won't say it won't happen after what happened last year. There's no lead mathematically, I say won't be conquered. But it's pretty next to impossible for it to happen. But yeah, a lot of really just mediocre performances throughout. But this was really just a low scoring week for everyone, so they were able to get the Kiffin. This was the lowest Kiffin of the season by 17 points. But the real main stars in this one was their special teams and defense. Tampa Bay defense getting 23 in a win over the Colts despite giving up 31 points. They just had 5 turnovers. That'll help you get there. And then Nick Folk with 22. I didn't even know a kicker could get 22, and 2 kickers this week did. One of them was not picked up by anyone, but Nick Folk, kicker of the year so far. I guess if you're going to spend all that money on kickers, you better, make sure you get some good ones while you're at it. But, yeah, Lamar had 4 picks, still managed to not get single digits. Only 2 people with single digits. Just a solid week overall for Pams. And we'll see how this team's able to handle making the playoffs. First trip there, see if they're able to make any noise.
Yeah, it doesn't really take a rocket scientist here to figure out where everything went wrong in this one. It's funny, dude, that the nickname's kind of covering his low-ass score. But first thing, before we go a little bit negative, Cam Newton here, I just want to say, Cam Newton, I do love you, man. I love the way you play football. I love the passion and energy you bring to the game. But we got to call a spade this week. You sold the shit out of me this week, bro. You had 8 points on the first drive and proceeded to get negative 6 points the rest of the game, man. We got the rushing touchdown. That was one of the keys to success this week. And then it all just fell downhill from there. And with Cam also being really bad, we had the Panthers kicker who the offense isn't scoring any points or even getting past midfield. Kicker's not going to have a good day. And he also had the defense out to dry multiple times, throwing 2 picks in his own territory, which led to, I believe it was 2 touchdowns. There was at least a touchdown and a field goal. And then also the special teams unit not knowing who to block and then getting a punt block returned for a touchdown. Just an awful game by the Panthers in general. But Cam, you sold the shit out of me this week, bro. But it is what it is, Everybody else I thought played relatively well, except for Nick Chubb, and that's not really his fault. He didn't have a game plan scripted at all for him. He got 10 touches, one of the best running backs in football. 10 touches. That's not on him. That's on the coaching staff. But yeah, a disappointing loss. We're going to be in the consolation game this year, which is basically going to be 5 weeks of nothingness for the rest of the year. We don't matter for the rest of the year. So this is probably going to be one of the last spiels you hear from us.
Constellation teams matter too.
We don't matter. But but we're gonna have a nice trip into the off season here. We'll be looking to come back next year. But congratulations to the Pams first playoff appearance. They are our arch rivals, but when we lose to our rivals, we don't blame it on some missed calls or some other bullshit. We don't make excuses. So congratulations to you. I wish you the best of luck in your first ever trip to the playoffs here, bud.
All right. Second game up. We're going to try to be quick with this one because it's embarrassing we even have to talk about. DeezeNuts comes in, gets the scummiest of swiper awards, the lowest one of the year at 92 points, and only the second team to win a game with a double-digit performance. And they did so with 7 single-digit scorers on their team. 7. The only 2 people who weren't just completely terrible was Dak. Nice to see him have another good game. 30 points against the Raiders, even though they did lose. And then Mark Andrews was 16. He was the benefactor of a nice little Lamar play where he made an insane move to escape out of the pocket and then chucked it deep. And Mark Andrews happened to be there to make the catch. So that helped him out. But a lot of mediocrity throughout the rest, and that's probably putting it nicely. This team will be facing off with the Cleveland Steamers in the consolation series. So they have that to look forward to. But yeah, not much else to say about this one. This one was just bad overall.
Yeah, going over to Matt here. Running backs continue to be an issue for this team. With their big dog Derrick Henry going out for the season, they just really haven't been able to find consistent play there as they combine for less than 3 points. And then a lot of single digits here. You see Mike Evans not doing super hot in the game against Indianapolis. The Bucs really just couldn't find a passing offense in that game. Michael Gallup showed up to the office this week, getting a nice 100 yards on Thanksgiving. Gronkowski was in the only Bucs pass catchers who did show up. Also showed up for Francy Feast here with 20 points. But yeah, not much else here. We do want to say Darren Waller, he did get hurt. I believe it was a knee injury in the Thanksgiving game. Wishing him speedy, fast recovery. Hopefully he can get back at some point this year. Francy Feast is definitely going to need him if they're going to want to escape the toilet bowl. But that's about all I have to say about this game.
All right, we'll get off it quick then. Third game up. The GOAT. Oh, actually, I did want to say one last thing about that last game. Matt, second lump award in the last 3 weeks and on the season, but 2 of the last 3 weeks, those injuries have just really taken a toll on them.
They have.
All right. Third game up. The GOAT KD suffering their heartbreaking 4th Lions Award of the season, as this one came by less than 4 points at the hands of Leeroy Jenkins. They almost upended their arch rival and ended their massive winning streak, but they were not able to get it done.
So this was the 3rd game this year that Leeroy Jenkins has won despite scoring less than 130 points. Love to see those games as a front office, games where you might not have the best showing, but can still come out with a W here. The running backs really weren't incredible in this game. Jonesy just coming off of his MCL tear. He was only out for a week, but really wasn't utilized a bunch. It was a big Dillon game going up against that really stout Rams front. Najee Harris, Steelers got behind really quickly and couldn't really do a whole hell of a lot on offense. So he kind of, unfortunately, was a benefit. Didn't really get to benefit from any of the Steelers' good fortune there. Justin Jefferson and Stephon Diggs both showed up, played pretty well, scoring in the teens. But the big player here for Leeroy Jenkins, Cordell Patterson, as he continues to shine in his breakout year in, year 10 or something in the NFL. He scored 2 touchdowns, 100 yards on the ground. He had a big day. And also Cincinnati defense had a big day against Pittsburgh as they picked Ben off 2 times and also, I believe, pick 6 them right before halftime. So they had a big day, but one of these games where you can kind of squeak out a victory. But at this point, you'll take it if you're Leeroy Jenkins trying to keep that momentum going into the playoffs here.
It will be a tall task for them indeed. They want to hold on to their column, see if they're able to do it. Flip side here, GOAT KD, like I mentioned before, their 4th Lions Award of the season. Really just hate to see it. This one is kind of a metaphor for how their entire season has gone. Rodgers with a nice 30 against the Rams. The Packers kind of kicked their ass, to be honest. It was just a good performance. Did not look washed at all. Gaskin had a nice 19. That's back-to-back weeks with 19 for him. He's kind of had an up-and-down year, but they're happy to see him do well, I'm sure. Other than that, just a lot of mediocrity and a lot of they just came up a little bit too short. They'll be competing in the toilet bowl this year. yet again after winning their championship last year. Has a lot of people asking if their championship was a fluke. We'll have to see them if they're able to get back to the playoffs in future years, but this was not a great way to follow up their title, to say the least. All right. Fourth game up. We have in the TikTok Bowl, FaZe Kev getting their second win of the season, finally moving out of last place as they defeated Cleas Mafia 125 to 116.
FaZe Kev, back in the win column, baby. When there's not a lot of good things happening, you got to celebrate all the good moments that you can. They did have the three-headed monster leading the way this week. Josh Allen with a nice, 30 points? He scored, 31 points. Austin Eckler with 20 points. Daryl Henderson with just under 20 points as they led the way for FaZe Kevin this one. And then, didn't get a whole lot of production from the rest of the team, but at the end of the day, they were able to give him enough to win this game, as they're probably very happy about getting their second win on the season, especially against their arch rival in Cleas Mafia. And hopefully for them, they can use this momentum as they will be competing in the Toilet Bowl this year to try to stave off jumping in the lake for a second consecutive year.
Flip side, Cleas Mafia, we're going to try very hard to find some positives for this team. Chef Russ did get his first 20-point game since his injury, so I'm sure they're happy to see that. Josh Jacobs also had 20 points as the Rays were able to take down the Cowboys. And then number 2 overall draft pick, Antonio Gibson, a.k.a. Stonks, he got his third 20-point game of the year. So that was good. I'm sure they were happy, to see their high draft pick doing well. But now to the sad news, DeAndre Swift got hurt for them this week, only put on 3 points, and it looks like he's going to be missing some time. So that's just not what they want to see as they're approaching the threat of going into the lake. This may be the Toilet Bowl finale preview. These are the 2 worst teams in the league, even though I'm sure neither of them want to go to the Toilet Bowl. But this is not a good showing for Cleas Mafia. Did not send the message, I like to say, going into the Toilet Bowl that they don't want to go in the lake. So hopefully they'll figure that out, or else, they'll be in the lake, and that just sucks. Not that Cleas is going to take my advice anyway, because he's not even watching this video.
Prayers up, D Swift. Hopefully you can get back soon, bud.
All right. Yes. First off, yes, agreed. Hope to see DeAndre Swift back on the field soon.
Mm-hmm.
5th game. Tragic. Philly Cheekles, 126. Sweeping the Texas side 10-4s with 109. That's 2 wins for the Philly Cheekles over the 10-4s on the season to complete the regular season sweep.
First ever season sweep of the 10-4s for the Philly Cheekles here, as they jump into first place in the East now. If they win next week, they will win their first ever division title to go along with their first ever playoff appearance. So a lot of buzz going around the Philly Cheekles last couple weeks. But they got led by some of their big dogs here. Justin Herbert, 23 points. He was able to slightly outdo Matthew Stafford. Jonathan Taylor didn't get the ball a lot before the last couple of drives, and the Colts were like, oh shit, why aren't we handing the ball off to our best player? And then started giving him the ball, and he was able to score a touchdown. And Deebo Samuel, running back Deebo Samuel, out of the backfield, 2 touchdowns out of the backfield, just pulling out all the stops over there in San Francisco. He can do everything. And then everybody else was able to do just enough, except for the tight end position. Both teams, that was just fucking awful. 0.8 points between 2 players. But, if you're the Philly Cheekles, hell, 0.8 points was better than 0. So they still won in that matchup. But overall for the Philly Cheekles, just enough to get it done this week. Got some good performances from their top dogs. And hoping to carry this momentum into next week as they're going to try to clinch their first ever division title here.
Man, this was a rough one for us over at the 10-4s. Not only did we get swept by our arch rival on the year in rivalry week, but also we have now been faced with bigger problems that affect our entire season as we enter the playoffs. Stafford had 22 in a loss to the Packers. He looks banged up or something looks wrong with him. He does not look like he's playing high-level Matt Stafford football at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
McCaffrey only got 4 points, and he is out for the year. So we really hate to see that. As Nick mentioned, Austin Hooper, 0 points filling in for Kelsey. That one will be fixed the next week when Kelsey comes back. But and then also really disappointing is how well our defense played. We had 4 turnovers and 2 fourth down stops from our defense, and we were still not able to get the job done on the week. Just really hate to see it. Really hate to let them down. Really hate to let our players down. And with all these people hurt, we're going to need someone to step up and start making plays. And I just want to know who that's going to be. My office, I should say, is open. Any player wants to come talk to me, talking about you need playing time. Tell me why you deserve it, and it's open right now. So, we need to step up if we want this ship. We've been the favorite all year, but it's not one in the books. I like to say you gotta go win it on the field, and no one makes excuses for your injuries. So we gotta have our players step up and go get it. All right, enough about my team. Except we're about to talk about them right again to start this off. But we're getting in to next week's schedule and the postseason seeding scenarios that are in front of everyone. First game up, top seed Leeroy Jenkins. They already have first place clinched and the West Division. They'll be taking on the Texas size 10-4s. Currently sit at 8-4. They are currently tied with both Philly Cheekles and the Can Pams. We have the tiebreaker over the Can Pams, not the Philly Cheekles. And those two teams play each other next week. So in order for us to win the division, we need a win and we need a Can Pams win because then we'll have the tiebreaker over them. Any other scenario, we're most likely in a wild card. And it's going to be really hard for DeezeNuts to catch us because they're down by 200-something points, which is, next to impossible to get. But I thought that last year too, and then it happened. So, second game up, as I just mentioned before, Philly Cheekles and Can Pams both tied at 8-4. Both want a piece of the East Division. Philly Cheekles get it with any win because they hold the tiebreakers. Can Pams needs a win and a loss by the Texas size 10-4s in order to get the division. Otherwise, they'll most likely be in a wild card spot. Third matchup, DeezeNuts taking on the GOAT KD. The GOAT KD is not going to be able to catch Francy because they lost him early in the year, so they're going to hold tight at the 8th seed heading into the Toilet Bowl. DeezeNuts looking like they're going to hold in 5th place as they got north of 200 points to catch on anyone. And the Cleveland Steamers, they already defeated, so they have the tiebreaker there. So they're going to hold in 5th place. Fourth matchup, FaZe Kev, 2-10, just got out of last place for the first time. They have a 156-point advantage over Cleas Mafia, so if they both win or both lose, they'll most likely hold 9th. Unless something really crazy happened. Like I said, never can be too sure. But, mostly it's going to come down to whether or not they win or lose if they go in as 9 or 10, and also what Cleas Mafia does. Francy Feast, they lost twice to Cleveland Steamers, so they can't catch them and escape the Toilet Bowl, and they also defeated the GOAT KD, so they can't be caught. They will hold 7th place heading into the Toilet Bowl. And then last matchup, Cleas Mafia, like you just said, just fell to last place this week. They are unlikely to catch FaZe Kev unless they win and FaZe Kev loses. And then Cleveland Steamers sitting around 500, 6-6. They cannot catch DeezeNuts, and they will not be caught by Francy. So they will be in 6th place, taking on DeezeNuts in the consolation game. And that is it for us this week. This is the current playoff bracket. Nick, any final thoughts on the week or this upcoming week before we get off?
Nope, I got nothing.
All right. Well, see you later, boys. Have a good week.